Good morning, everyone. It is so good to see you all in your Sunday best and bunny ears and not bunny ears. Feels very festive in here, and welcome to everyone online as well. It's good to have you with us. It's good to be together this morning. I am Reverend Ellen Quaadgras, serving here at South Church in co-leadership with Kirsten Hunter, who's a little bit hidden behind all these wonderful choir members. Together, we are here to support you in all of your ministries to one another and to the wider world. A world that needs our care and attention, that calls for transformation of all kinds. Transformation of how we think, how we see, how we feel, and how we understand, including our understanding of history. Every week we name the truth that the land upon which this sanctuary was built was first stewarded by the Abenaki and Pennacook nations, two native communities whose people are still here and are among so many tribal nations in this country who were dispossessed of their lands and whose full right to self-determination has not been honored. We tell this truth not as an end, but as a beginning to open up questions to hold and walk with, to ask ourselves what we can do to begin to set things right in ways that transform all of humanity for the better. Transformation is our theme this month. And today is Easter, a holiday that is, in its essence, all about transformation, about rebirth, about change. Coming at a time when we are just beginning to see new life popping up around us, sprouts of green grass, the first signs of daffodils and tulips right in our garden outside. A reminder of the fresh hope humans can feel at even the tiniest signs of renewal. And in the Christian tradition, this holiday is all about the renewal one man went through in the desert during his Lenten journey. It's about the transformative ministry he offered to the people around him after that, and it is about an ultimate transformation from death into new life, from Good Friday into Easter morning, from despair into hope. You could say the story of Easter is all about how one person first changed how he saw himself, then he helped others change how they saw each other, and finally, through his ministry and the ways it lived on after his death, Jesus helped change the perceptions around the whole world for centuries to come. And today, in this all-ages service, we will focus on these three ways of transforming our perceptions of ourselves, of each other, and of our whole worlds. Because what might become possible then? I am grateful to be offering this service today with Veda, Kiper, Phelps as our WA, also carefully hidden behind the choir right now. Also, Jen DB and Kirsten Hunter will be telling stories and offering insights. Johnny Pfeiffer worked so hard to prepare our wonderful choir. He cannot be here today because he is sick, but many thanks to Susan Adams, who will be both playing the piano and leading the choir, as you can see, and also Kathy Okeisen leading our hymns. Ben Abbott and Jen Leyden on tech today, and Jen Leyden also unwrapping a tremendous number of tiny little packages that hopefully you picked up on your way in. If you didn't, this is a great time to raise your hand and an usher will bring one to you, but don't open it yet. We will tell you when it's time. And for those of you online, if you would also like to receive a package, please send an email to info@southchurchuu.org. You can also find that address on our website. I will make sure we get one of these to you. In the meantime, I invite you to find a small piece of paper and a pen if you would like to participate in the activity we'll do with these packages a little bit later in the service. If you need assistive listening devices or a large print hymnal, please check with an usher who can help you with that. Please note that there is a pancake breakfast happening next Sunday before worship. I can practically smell the bacon and maple syrup now. It will be a warm and wonderful event. Proceeds will go to the youth group trip to New Mexico. It starts at 8:30, and we hope you will come to be part of this fabulous experience. And we have something extra special today, too, right after the service, especially for our youngest among us. There will be an Easter egg hunt today, and we invite you to go out to the steps in the front of the building right after the service, but don't start looking until Jen Del Deo-Barry is there to give you instructions. So go to the stairs and wait. Jen will be there soon. Please silence your cell phone if you have one, and we now get to enjoy our invocation.
As we light our chalice here, we invite people watching at home to light a candle or chalice of their own. The chalice lighting this Sunday is by Elizabeth M. Strong. Out of the earth rises light, rises life, rises spring. May we join with the miracle that is springtime and enter into life with lightness and joy. Out of the Spirit rises faith, rises hope, rises love. May we join with the miracle that is Easter time and enter into life with hope and love. Let us resurrect with spring, let us resurrect with the Spirit and enter into renewed life as we light our chalice this Easter morning. Now, please stand as you are able and join me in reciting the mission statement printed in your order of service. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people and inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community.
Good morning. I have a story, and I would normally invite people to come closer for a story, but today I'm going to ask you to stay right where you are because we have lots of stories today. So today, I'm going to talk about God and the devil and angels and heaven. And as Unitarian Universalists, we all might have very different thoughts about those things. But something that we do agree on is that we can find inspiration and wisdom from all kinds of sources, even fairy tales. And that's what this is today. This is a fairy tale adapted from a story by Hans Christian Andersen. So once upon a time, the devil loved to create confusion. And the devil one day got a terrible, awful, wonderful idea, and he created a window, a great big window, where if you looked through it, then anything good and beautiful in the world would look really teeny tiny. And anything that was scary and difficult and bad in the world would look huge. And the devil thought this was awesome. And he was laughing so hard about this trick window that he bumped it, and it fell over, and it shattered into 1,000,000,000 billion trillion pieces. And some of those pieces were so small that they were the size of a grain of sand or a speck of dust. And then a big wind came along and blew those tiny particles all over the earth, and a lot of them even got lodged in people's eyes. And so then, when those people with the specks in their eyes looked at the world around them, all the scary, terrible, awful things looked huge, and the beautiful and good things were really hard to see. And the devil thought, oh, this is even better. I'm glad this window broke, and now everybody has this in their eyes. But then God was up in heaven and was watching what was going on, and it made him really sad, because he really wanted people to be able to see the beauty of the world. Fortunately, God's a really good crafter, and so he made a window of his own, a really big window that when you looked through it, it would correct your vision back to be able to bring the goodness and beauty into focus, and it would right-size the hard, scary things. It didn't make them disappear, because seeing those is a really important part of life too. But it would bring things back into balance. And so God had this big, beautiful window up there in heaven, but it doesn't do much good up there because everything already looks really good up there. So God grabbed the nearest angel and asked, can you bring this window down to earth for the people to look through it and see the world the way they should? The angel said, sure, and headed down to earth with this giant window, but got a little too excited, tripped, and that window went flying through the air, smashed, and went into millions and billions of pieces all over the earth. But I wonder where those pieces went. We know that there is beauty around us, but I'm not sure what happened to those pieces. So let's wonder about that. And while we wonder, let's sing a hymn. So please rise in body or spirit and sing hymn number 270, O Day of Light and Gladness.
With
Jesus began his ministry with a wilderness journey. After being baptized by his friend John the Baptist, he was called immediately into the desert, a dry, rough, empty place where for 40 days and 40 nights he didn't eat, had little water. We know it was hard. We imagine he might have been afraid. The scriptures imply that his will and his spirit were tested and that he came back wiser, deeper, with fresh vision. Something had changed him. You could probably say he saw things differently after that. His perception of himself and of everything had changed. Maybe you've had experiences like that, times when you were tested and you weren't sure if you could make it through. Maybe you're going through a time of testing right now. But the times that you did go through, you can notice maybe ways it made you stronger. Something in your own wilderness journey that changed something in you. Here's a story about a child who went through something like that. It is called The Forest. I had always been afraid of the forest, is how this story begins. That dark and unknown place at the farthest edge of my little world. At night, I often dreamed of it and woke chilled with fear. The fear was there in the day, too, hidden inside me no matter what I did or where I went. One night, the fear pressed so heavily on me, I could bear it no longer. So in the morning, standing in the doorway of my home, I saw the cozy chair by the fire, my warm bed, the objects I loved. But I turned and I closed the door behind me. I walked through the village that I knew like the back of my hand. I passed shops and houses laid out in their familiar order and followed the long curve of the street. On the high road, my heart began to race. I no longer felt like myself, but small and alone in the big, big world. I walked on and on past unknown farms and fields until the paved road ended. Uneasy, I looked back at my village, now just a dot in the distance. Looming before me, shaking its many heads slowly in the wind, stood the forest. Should I turn back? Should I run back, heart racing to the safety of my house? No, I had come too far. But would I lose myself? Would I be devoured by some wild creature? Would I die of this fear? I stepped inside the forest between two pillared trees that stood like a gateway. My heart was pounding. A sharp bird call from behind made me jump. Something cracked nearby, and a dark shadow moved swiftly toward me, coming closer and closer. Leaping for cover, I tripped and fell headlong to the ground. Lie still, I thought. If you move, you'll be found. Could my thundering heart be heard outside my head? When I opened my eyes, my nose was deep in moss, soft as feathers. The sunlight through the leaves was warming my back. I was alive. I rolled over, and for the first time, I looked up. High above, I saw the sky. The sky was bigger than the forest, bigger even than my fear had been, bigger than everything. I lay there, a speck in this enormous beauty, until the light began to fade. And then, with the sweet, murmuring world of the forest filling me, I walked the long way home. Our attachments to life's familiar comforts or to feelings of safety can bend our perceptions out of shape. They can warp how we see the world or how we see ourselves. So we must sometimes venture out into the new and unfamiliar, facing our fears. Wilderness is part of everyone's journey, and we are all tested in life. And when we head toward the fear, we may get glimpses of our true courage, our true integrity, and the true nature of the world and ourselves. Our vision is corrected. Now, at the beginning of the service, Jen Del Deo-Barry told a story about a devil and his warping window, and an angel and a special antidote, a different kind of window that would correct that fear-based nearsightedness. A window that shattered into thousands and millions of pieces, and we were left with this question we've been wondering about ever since: where might those pieces have gone? Those of you in the sanctuary received a small package this morning. It is now time to open them. And find what is inside. And for those of you online, I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit, Ben, but what if those pieces of broken window looked something like these right here? Now, you might look at these and think to yourself, that looks like a little piece of quartz. And you might be right. Still, if you look carefully, you could also just possibly see how these might in fact be pieces of God's perception-correcting window. Now, as you use, we may or may not believe in a God or devils or angels going around changing our perceptions, but I think most of us do believe that we can change how we see, how we perceive. But I also know we sometimes forget to do this. What can help us remember? I want you to think for a moment about a time when you did something hard, when you went through a wilderness journey and it changed your perception of yourself in a good way. Like getting back on a bike after you fell off, or calling up a friend even though you were still in a fight with them, or heading out to some new place that scared you, like an unfamiliar forest, or maybe a new school, or maybe some new church activity that challenges you. Or maybe you were kind to someone or generous even though it felt hard to do. whatever it was, think of a word that describes the quality that you saw in yourself. Maybe it was strength. Maybe it was courage. Maybe it was boldness or compassion or something else. For those of you at home, I invite you to write that word down. For those in the sanctuary, I invite you to hold your piece of quartz and let it carry that word, even as you might decide to carry this in your pocket, so that you can imagine when you see or touch this piece of quartz, it will remind you of that word, remind you of that clear way of seeing your true self.
I'm going to invite us into a time of prayer. There may be some new people in this room, or people in this room who are new to prayer, or who don't have a practice of prayer. When I was young, I would sometimes sleep over at my grandma's house, and before bed, my grandmother would remind me to say my prayers. And I didn't exactly know how. But I would close my eyes, and I would say thank you for my family, for my cozy bed, for good food, for happiness. And I would think about people who I was maybe worrying about a little bit, people or places that I had heard were having trouble. I would pray for them too, for those who I wanted to feel my love. When I was little, I thought saying prayers was a way of talking. I wasn't exactly sure if I was talking to God or to anyone in particular, but I imagined my prayers would flutter from my mouth and they would go out into the world, and that if I did it right, I thought saying prayers might be some kind of magic that could make the world better. As I've grown older, that's changed a little bit for me. Now, praying feels more like I'm listening than like I'm talking. It isn't something that flutters away. Instead, prayer changes me. It makes me better. It clears my heart. It connects me to my own body, to the place where I live, to the people I love, to the community to which I belong, to this precious, interdependent earth and all of life. Prayer for me now is a kind of resurrection, a rebirth, a renewal, a recommitment with every breath, breathing in new life to things to which I want to give attention. So I invite you into that practice together with me now. Close your eyes if you wish. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your body in the pew. Listen to the miraculous sound of this community to which you belong. Today, I am thankful for 90-year birthday rituals, for the gifts that elders offer us. I'm thankful for news of new babies being born and welcomed into this world in loving arms. Today, I am praying that we recognize the many ways that life invites us to slow down and notice, to be present. I pray that we see the creativity with which this life helps us see what is budding and beautiful around us. I give thanks for the reminder today, in particular, this International Transgender Day of Visibility, that we are all here to search for what is true within us. By listening to the answers that they have found, our transgender and non-binary siblings remind all of us of life's miraculous capacity for transformation and rebirth. I pray that we listen and learn from those lessons. I pray that we continue to fight as allies and accomplices against campaigns of divisiveness and hate that make such self-discovery so unnecessarily dangerous. I have prayers of thanks for the millions of Muslim people who woke early this morning to eat and pray on another morning of Ramadan before the sunrise. I also have prayers for those who woke early to bake cinnamon rolls and follow young ones into backyards to find eggs left by bunnies. I'm thankful for the ways that faith helps us manifest love in this world. I pray for strength and care for Anel Shaleen. She is a woman who grew up in our UU faith, who worked for this past year for the U.S. State Department, and this week made the brave decision to resign from her job in protest of our country's complicity with the ongoing violence in Gaza. I hope she is safe. I hope she knows the impact of her brave choice. I hope I can learn from her example of using her power and her privilege to help bend the arc of justice. I pray for peace for the millions of people on this precious planet who are living amidst the fear of violence, of war, of man-made famine. I pray our collective voices can be loud enough to compel change. Precious life. I sometimes worry that some of the mistakes we human beings have made have become too big to repair. Thank you for teaching us again and again and again to release that skepticism and fear, to right-size it, to embrace your expansive capacity for love and healing and transformation, to admit that we cannot know what is possible. Thank you for surrounding us with wise teachers who remind us of the lessons we have learned and then forgotten and must learn again. That we belong to this earth, that we belong to one another, that we are here to care for each other, that we are beloved, never ending, never alone. May we listen with every breath. Amen. Let's sing again. Please rise. Sorry, let's not sing yet.
It is now time for the offering, the time we take to support the amazing and impactful programs South Church offers. Donations may be made in person, online, by mailing a check to 73 Court Street offices, or by using the Venmo app. In months with 5 Sundays in 2024, the Board of Trustees has approved the use of the entire collection plate on the last Sunday towards paying down the principal on a loan we took out to upgrade South Church and the Meeting House. There's more information in your order of service about that. Please give as you are able. The offering will now be gratefully received.
this precious day.
Jesus returned from his wilderness journey with new purpose, clarity, and vision. This clarity, this new perception of himself and his world, prepared him to build revolutionary relationships with and among others. You could say that Jesus, in his ministry, shared this new way of seeing, this loving way of seeing with others, which then helped them to do the same. This is a story about old Joe and the carpenter. Old Joe lived way out in the countryside, and he had one neighbor. Old Joe and him had been friends all their lives, and now that their spouses were buried and their children raised, all they had left were their farms and each other. But for the first time, they had an argument. It was over a stray calf that neither one really needed. It seemed as though the calf was found on Joe's neighbor's land, and so he claimed it as his own. But old Joe said, "That calf has the same markings as my favorite cow, and I recognize it as being mine." Well, they were both a bit stubborn, so they just stopped talking to each other. That happened about a week before, and it seemed that a dark cloud had settled over old Joe, until there came a knock at his door. He wasn't expecting anybody that morning, and as he opened the door, he saw a young man who had a box of tools on his shoulder. He had a kind voice and dark, deep eyes, and he said, "I'm a carpenter, and I'm looking for a bit of work. Maybe you have some small jobs that I can help with." Old Joe brought him back to the kitchen and sat him down, gave him some stew that he had on the back of the stove. While they were eating and talking, Joe decided that he liked this young fellow, and he said, "I do have a job for you. Look right there through my kitchen window. See that farm over there? That's my neighbor's place. And you see that creek running right down there between our house? That creek, it wasn't there last week. My neighbor did that to spite me. He took his plow up there, and he dug a big old furrow from the upper pond and flooded it. Well, I want you to do one better. Since he wants us divided that way, you can go out there and build me a fence, a big, tall fence, so I won't even have to see his place anymore." And the carpenter said, "Well, if you have the lumber and the nails, I've got my tools, and I'll be able to do a job that you'll like." Joe showed the carpenter where everything was in the barn, and that carpenter carried everything down to the creek and started to work. And his work went smooth and fast. He did his measuring and his sawing and his nailing, and by sunset the carpenter had finished. When old Joe came out to see the fence, his eyes opened wide and his mouth fell open, because there wasn't a fence there at all. It was a bridge, going from one side of the creek to the other. It had handrails and everything, a fine piece of work. And his neighbor was just starting to cross the bridge with his hand stuck out, and he was saying, "Joe, you're quite a fellow to build this bridge. I would never have been able to do that. I'm so glad we're going to be friends again." And Joe, he put his arms around his neighbor and said, "Oh, that calf is yours. I've known it all the time. I just want to be your friend too." About that time, the carpenter started putting his tools into the box and then hoisted it onto his shoulder and started to walk away. And Joe said, "Wait, come on back, young fellow. I want you to stay on. I've got lots of projects for you." The carpenter just smiled and said, "I'd like to stay on, Joe, but you see, I can't. I've got more bridges to build." So he walked on, and there ends this tale. Here's what this story brought up for me. I moved to the seacoast with my family when I was in 5th grade. Here, that is the beginning of middle school, a notoriously dangerous and awkward shared experience taking place on enemy territory. Being the new kid means tiptoeing through a minefield of cliques, invisibly analyzing how people act, talk, look, and seem in order to figure out where you land. My little 5th grade self was not used to this new environment. I missed my old friends and the comfort of familiarity. I was scared of my new classmates, scared of embarrassing or causing attention to myself. I did not want to be judged. I became quiet, and similar to old Joe, I found it easier to cut people off instead of creating new friendships. Building fences is a lot easier than building bridges. To build a bridge, you have to build a bond. You have to put yourself out there, be vulnerable. To build a fence, all you have to do is remain quiet, isolated, no work needed. As I observed my friends from my corner desk in my little 5th grade classroom, I came to the conclusion that there was one girl whom everyone admired. She was confident and had friends. Her effortless attraction and charm formed a power dynamic. From my scared, lonely, and intimidated perspective, this meant she was automatically not going to like me. In fact, in my closed mind, she was the mean girl. This was my fence. That deciding moment was in fact one of my silliest assumptions. As that year went on, I continued to perceive this girl as an enemy who would target me if I spoke to her. I eventually made friends and found my place in the dynamics, growing out of my fears. I got to know people as I stopped comparing myself to them. In my new, accepting state of mind, my perspective shifted. I played sports with this girl, I had classes with her. I began to actually talk and interact with her. I learned people admired her because of her endless optimism and kind heart. In reality, she's one of the sweetest people I had ever met. We became fast friends around 4 years after 5th grade. In this case, building a bridge did not come naturally. It took accidental self-reflection. To build up the confidence, to open my mind and be vulnerable, I had to grow from my state of fear, loneliness, and intimidation. In many ways, that negativity was the foundation of my positivity. A fence transformed into a bridge.
Fences and bridges, where are these for you? We humans are naturally built to connect with one another. But sometimes things happen. A calf wanders off and there is a misunderstanding. Or fear causes us to shut down and imagine the worst. We cannot see each other clearly, only what's upsetting. The devil's window got stuck in our eye. I invite you to think for a moment about the people in your life, someone or some group that is challenging for you right now, or with whom you would like to have more of a relationship, those toward whom you would like to build a bridge. I invite you to picture them in your minds. And for those of you at home, I invite you to hold your piece of paper with your special word. And for those of you in the sanctuary, I invite you to hold your piece of quartz, the one that looks like the fragment of that big broken vision-correcting window. And imagine for a moment that it holds the power to realign not only our vision of ourselves, but also of others. While you imagine this, there's a blessing I would like to offer for each of us. I will say the words, and I invite you to repeat after me. May my eyes see clearly. May my heart be open. May my words and actions build bridges of understanding. As we go about our days and our activities, may this blessing be with us, creating new openings, fresh possibilities, new life. And let us join together in our next hymn. The choir will be leading us. It's called Building Bridges, and it is number 1023 or 1032? 1032. 1023. Please rise in body or in spirit. We just need the mic turned on for Susan.
Check, check. Okay. We're going to sing Building Bridges for You in a round. The choir will sing through it 4 times, I think, and jump in wherever you feel inspired.
When water is heated within the Earth's crust, sometimes the super high temperature actually splits water molecules into their component parts, oxygen and hydrogen. And sometimes then, the oxygen molecules pair up with silica molecules that happen to be floating nearby. And in that superheated solution, deep in the crust of the Earth, a precipitate forms, tiny seedlings, which then find their way to the solid rock surfaces, and there, slowly, quartz crystals begin to grow. The journey of our lives is not all that different. We've talked today about transforming our perception of ourselves, and we've talked as well about transforming our perception of others. We've talked about healing, about stories and learning from stories. There is a precipitate, a new seed that grows new understanding in each of those things. Transformation can begin with one person or a few or many, but it also grows and spreads, creates new connections and new possibilities. Jesus returned from his wilderness journey transformed, and his new understanding helped others transform their visions in turn. He sowed seeds of truth and clarity that caught on and spread. Some say that after he died, his vision, his love, was reborn in body. Some say it was reborn in spirit. Either way, we know that his words, his vision, his love lived on, because we're still talking about it today. Inspiring others to follow his example, to tap into some greater truth, some greater love, to create new connections, new possibilities. With all of our voices and all of our visions, what could become possible? The answer is inside and in between. Openness, connection, clarity, loving perception, What makes Jesus' life and the Easter story so powerful is not just the way he transformed himself, nor is it how he helped others transform, but that he sowed seeds. Look at these crystals. There is power in connections in our interdependent web. I would like you to bring out this crystal one last time and think about how, when the sunlight shines through, it has the power to bend light and make rainbows. Imagine that we hold that power to transform as well. Not only our vision of ourselves and others, but this whole community and our whole world. What if, when life looks bleak, when we feel disappointed or discouraged or overwhelmed, we could remember to look again, to take inspiration from the vision of those who have come before, of those who are around us, reminding us? What if we could allow our sight to be renewed? Open our eyes to the natural, ever-present rebirth of good and hope in this world. Holding on to that image, let us sing our closing hymn. In praise of spring's renewal, please rise in body or spirit. Hymn number 269.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you.
Let us leave this place held in faith that light can shine in darkness. Let us leave this place held in wonder of beauty we can see and mysteries we cannot understand. And let us leave this place held in the hope of an ancient story and one unfolding, ever present, all around us, of life begun anew. Amen.